Well, good morning. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Brandon Massey. I'm the student pastor here at First Baptist Church, and we got back yesterday from an amazing week spent in the Chicago metro area. We took our 38 high school students and 8 adults, I think, and man, just what a great week. And the air that you felt this morning, you can thank us for that because we brought it with us, all right? It's awesome. I told our students when we went on this trip, I challenged them. I said, let's don't be tourists. Let's be missionaries. And the Bible says in Matthew 28 that as you are going, make disciples. Baptize them and teach them. That means if you're a believer, wherever your foot lands, that's the mission field. Mission fields, missions is not a trip as much as it is a way of life. And so I've got a couple of these students up here. We were in 2 different ministry sites. Our group was kind of split up that way. And so Luke Reed is going to talk about one of the sites where we went to, and Wes Stone is going to talk about the other. So let's give them a hand, all right?
All right. As Brandon said, I am Luke Reed. I am a junior in high school. I'm going to be a senior this upcoming year. And I want to start off by saying I went to the site known as C-SPAR. And what this was, it was kind of like a program. It's not really like a daycare. It was like a program for mentally disabled people with like Asperger's and autism. Yeah, there you go. That word. And at first, when I go into this trip, I didn't really know where I wanted to go. Like when the sites were announced, neither one of them just kind of stuck out like, that's where I need to be. I was just kind of like, I'll go where I end up. And the night we were deciding, like we were all raising our hands for where we wanted to go, Brandon said he needed 25 students to go to the food pantry. And I'm just saying the Lord provides. We had exactly 25 students raise their hand to go to the food pantry on the first try. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to C-SPAR. So when we first got there, we didn't really know where we were. We were in this place. It was like the Chicago Hawks. And it had 4 full-size ice hockey rinks and 1 futsal court, which is indoor soccer if you don't know. And we were like, is this the right place? We're not really sure. And we got back on the van, and Brandon drives around the parking lot once, and then the C-SPAR guy's like, oh, yeah, we're here. This is the right place. We're upstairs. Okay, cool. So we get up there, and it's kind of awkward at first. We don't really know what to do. We don't know anybody yet. We're just kind of sitting around. We have lunch, and then they're like, hey, who's ready for some yoga? We're like, yoga? I'm not so sure about this. Okay, we'll try this. And so we get in there. We have 12 on our site. And they have about, I would say, 20 to 30 participants. They're called participants because they're over 22. They're not students. So we go and we do yoga, and we're sitting there. And I'm like, my goodness, I have never sweat this much, even living in Arkansas. I'm like, whew. But, man, my favorite part was the end. Because we relaxed, and man, I never knew I could relax my belly button, but man, it is possible. I swear to you. If she said relax anything, it was relaxed. She said relax your eyeball, it went lazy. There's no stopping it. Let's say, so that was the first day on site. We get done with yoga. We kind of hang out a little bit, and that was about it. So we went to, we didn't do much on the first day, actually. Anyways, soon after that, we went back, and the second day we get on site. We're sitting there. We get more time to hang out. We don't immediately have lunch. We're playing some games. We had like Just Dance and ping pong and some stuff like that. But then we finally get to lunch, and they make their own lunch. Like they all get assigned jobs, and they make their lunch. They don't really need our help. We could help. Like some of us help cut watermelon. There's us playing ping pong. But other than that, like we didn't really help them do their own lunch. We ate our lunch, and we just did our own thing. They're like, all right, who's ready to go walking? We're like, all right, cool. So we went to the park. We ran a 5K. This is the T-shirt from that 5K, actually. And they're like, we're going to just get a warm-up. We're going to go to this park. And so we walked 2 laps, which was like 2.3 miles. I was like, ooh, all right. Got my steps in for the day. Also got a big old blister because I got new shoes before I left. But, so I'm like, all right, that was pretty fun. And so the third day, last day on site, we get there. We're doing the 5K, and I'm like, man, it's going to suck with this big old blister, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then luckily enough, Lord answered prayers. Brandon walks up, hey, you want to do a water station instead? I was like, yes, please. That sounds good. So I did the water station, which you might think, oh, that's just lazy. You didn't do the 5K. Why do you get a T-shirt? And I'm like, well, the thing is with the water station, you got to see everybody. If you were walking, you might have seen like a couple of them. Other than that, like at the water station, you got to literally see everybody. You handed them water, you handed them cold towels to cool off, and they love those towels. I swear. There I am handing out water. So I ran out of towels pretty quick. Me and Lane were doing a station. I had the privilege to meet with one of the participants. His name was Ben. This guy was like a genius. He was so brilliant. Had an amazing memory. The practice day of the 5K, he told me the entire, I don't know what you want to say, but the entire Lion King story, start to finish, not missing a word. Everybody, he told the entire story. We started on 2 whenever we finished, and I was like, sorry, Ben, gotta go. Let's say, and after our 5K, we got the privilege to go swimming with them, and man, they love that water park, I swear. And we were thinking like maybe an indoor like little pool, like have you ever been to the Arsenal? It's kind of like that. No, this thing was like Eureka Springs. It was, or not Eureka Springs, what is it? Crenshaw Springs. It was insane. And other than that, I want to say that this site, when I first was going to it, I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to go hang out with some, I'm going to be honest, I was going to say, I'm going to go hang out with some special people, maybe make their week. But no, they hung out with me more than I hung out with them. They were awesome. I would totally say if I get the opportunity to do it again, I would in a heartbeat. They opened my eyes, and man, it's just an experience. If you ever get the chance to do it, I would say go ahead. Okay? So other than that, and compared to this site, you might think we had a vacation. Just saying, so.
My name is Wes Stone, and I got the opportunity to go with 25 other students to the food pantry in Chicago. And before I start, I'm going to open up with a verse that kind of set the tone for the week, and it's from Ephesians. It's Ephesians 5, verse 1 through 2, or 1 and 2. Therefore, imitate God with dearly loved children. Live your life with love, following the example of Christ, who loved us and gave himself for us. He was a sacrificial offering that smelled sweet to God. So, whenever I read this verse when we were doing worship on the first night, it was like, this is really speaking to me. So when I go to the food pantry, I shouldn't just go there just to be there just because I'm in Chicago. And I was really trying to think of a word for it, but it opened my eyes, and I really feel like it helped me just maybe, share what my faith was with other people, Not necessarily by just telling them who Jesus is, but just by my actions, just by showing them the gospel through my actions, showing them Jesus through my actions. And so that really helped me, have a better attitude on things whenever I went to the food pantry. So the first thing that we did was we kind of went to different stations to help people shop in this food pantry. And this food pantry was huge. It's one of the biggest food pantries, I think, in the country. So it was like a grocery store. They had meat lockers in the background, and they had little aisles people can go up for bread and pastries, and they had everything. It was amazing. And so me and 7 other guys were bag boys. So what we did was when they came through the end, when they were all done getting their stuff, we took their bags to their cars, and we put them in there and just helped them out. And the first day I was there, there's a bunch of Hispanic people. So I've been taking Spanish for about 2 years, and I don't know much, but I know a little bit of the basics. And I got the opportunity to really test my Spanish skills. And so I got to speak Spanish with some other people and trying to translate to the people who don't really know much what they're saying. And that was super awesome because their face lit up because they realized that not only are we here to help them, that we understand them. We're here to, go to their level of way they live. And just, I thought it was super cool because I remember this one lady I was helping, she had this big old cart of just food. And I went there to help her. And every time I just put one little thing in her cart, she said, gracias. And her face lit up. And it was just probably the most heartwarming thing that, I don't know, I can't really explain it. It was just amazing. So, her face lit up. She was so happy I was there. She was so happy we were all there just to help her, just in these times of need that she has, because clearly she didn't have much, because her car wasn't the greatest. It was taking a bit of time to start, and it kind of broke me down and realized, man, she's happy because I'm helping her put in groceries in her car. She's so happy about little things like that. And it's very eye-opening, to say the least. And the second day we were there, it was closed. So the two group leaders the two leaders of the food pantry had us do like this conveyor belt thing. And so what it was is we were preparing lunches for them on Monday. So whenever people come through, students who don't really get lunch during this, like they do in the school year, but in the summer, they have something to snack on when they're at home. And so what we did was we had like a conveyor belt thing that went through. We all had the students, and we put them in bags, and like we put them into these big bins, and we filled up about 9 bins. And we're working so fast that the two group like leaders had to force breaks upon us so we would meet the limit or meet the time that we had to leave. And we still left 30 minutes before because we finished so fast. And it was awesome because I just saw, every time I looked up, I just saw our group just working together, having fun, just living life, just working just this. It was so awesome. And it really, I can't really say, but like, I don't know. It was just so cool. Just like, so I'm mumbling a little bit. I'm a little nervous. So, so we're doing this conveyor belt, and I just looked up, and we were just having fun, singing songs, and I noticed the two leaders who were watching over us just shocked at how fast we were moving and how fast these bins were working. Like, they had to literally put stuff in front of the table so we would actually stop, and so we would, because they didn't have any other projects for us, and that's all they had for us, and we were finishing like that. And so the last day we were there, I was working on the pastry aisle, and what the pastry aisle was, I would hand them pastries, talk to them, have conversation. And these two little boys came through wearing soccer jerseys, and one of them was wearing my favorite team. And so I was talking to him, like saying, hey, that's my favorite team. And his face just smiled from ear to ear. It was so awesome. And like I was having a conversation with him and his dad, just talking about soccer, just talking about just getting their minds off of what they're thinking about probably. I can tell that they clearly were going through some rough things. They didn't have the best life. And just me, just sitting down, talking to them about soccer, clearly made their day. And not only did that make their day, it made mine. It really just helped me through this trip think about, man, these guys, they don't have the best life. If they're coming down to the food pantry because they can't afford stuff like this. And just me just talking to them like they're a normal person, as if I'm just a normal person with them. And it was very eye-opening, very heartwarming. It was just awesome. Me talking to these kids and just making their day with slight conversations, saying like, how are you? How's your day? And I don't know. It was just awesome. And so I'm going to end with a verse as well. It comes from Matthew. And so let me get to it real quick. It's Matthew 9:37. And it says, and the Lord said to his disciples, there is a great harvest, but there are few workers. So this is what the verse basically of missions in my mind. This is what sums up missions is. We are the workers, but there's very few. We need to set lives into other people about Jesus so we can make more workers to harvest this field. And that verse kind of also helped me through this week. We are the few workers harvesting this great field. So I'm still nervous. I just want to thank the people I was working with today, at the food pantry. It helped me come out of like social anxiety, just working with other people, talking to other people. And I'm very thankful for you guys who I worked with today, or that last week. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Noah Williams. I went to Haiti back in August with my family, back in June, earlier this summer with my family, and some more people from our church. And when we went, I expected, everyone talks about how bad it is, everyone talks about how poor it is, and that's what you expect. You expect them to have nothing at all, to be depressed, sad. And when I went, what I liked the most was, bear with me, I'm a little bit nervous. Don't do this every week like Padre. But what I liked the most is the joy on their faces. I mean, you went and they knew why you were there. I mean, they knew, hey, these Blancs, that's what they called us. Everywhere we went, Blancs. That's what we were. These Blancs are here. They're going to help. They're going to hang out with us. They're going to have fun with us. And the barrier there, the language barrier was tough. I mean, you didn't understand anything they said. The kids would scream and yell, and you'd be like, yeah, and have no idea what they were saying. But when you did something, we went and we played soccer with them, and you didn't need a language barrier when the smile came on their face. You could tell how overjoyed they were that we were there to just spend time with them. I did a devotion when I was there, and the kids, they would look at me, and I didn't even have to say anything. The smiles on their faces. I'm surprised that they were so content with what they had. We had a woman. That her and her 3 kids lived in what looked like a chicken coop, a 6x7 wall with tarps. That's all they had. There was one bed. That's one of the boys right there. They had one bed for the 4 of them. And a team before us had went and they built a sheet metal house, 14 by 14. And this woman was so overjoyed that she had a roof over her head. And we got to go through and cement that, and we see that as just, that's looked like a tool shed. And that's what her and her 3 kids were living in, and they were so happy with what they had. We got done cementing, and the woman wasn't there, but the kids walked in, and they were able to stand on hard ground. It wasn't dirt. If it rained, they had something. They had something other than mud to lay in. We made bunk beds for them later that week, and we took them in. And the kids they didn't know what to do. They were so overjoyed, and they were climbing on them. It's like, they had never had something like this. And they were climbing on them and laying on them, and they were laughing and running around. And they took what we did, and it was their whole world. They saw us doing that for them when no one else wanted to do anything. Can't see my phone. After we left, the day we left, the kids that were there at the orphanage and the compound that we stayed at, they were out, and we got to go play with them every day and just hang out with them. And they were so much fun. They were running around and yelling stuff you didn't understand and probably talking about us, but it was okay. But the last day, Fritzen right there, I told him, I was like, I'm leaving. It's time for me to go. And at first, I think he thought I was messing with him, because we'd come every night, and then we'd leave, and he'd be like, "Or you come back tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming back." And the last day I had to tell him I'm not coming. And I gave him that hug, and he just started crying. And it broke my heart. These people have teams come in and they hang out with you for a week. But, every team that comes in has to go somewhere. And I knew that they have done this before, and then they have teams come in and they have teams leave, but it was so much harder when I was there. But leaving, I mean, these people, yeah, they're poor and they have nothing, but these people were content with what they had, no matter how much, how little. We saw these kids at the house, and they had one pair of nice clothes. And we showed up, and they wanted a picture, and we were telling, we had a guy there, and he was able to talk to them and tell us what they were saying, and he was telling them to put their nice clothes on. We're going to take a picture. And they went, and they had them set apart from the torn-up jeans, the shirts that had barely anything left. And we got around, and they sat on the bed, and they smiled, and they were having a great time, and they were so content with what they had. They didn't need cell phones. They didn't have indoor plumbing, and they were happy to have a roof over their head. I mean, we see what we have, and we're like, oh, yeah, it's nothing. Oh, but it's everything. I came home and got in the shower, and I felt bad to use hot water. I would go and open my fridge and get a drink, get water out of the faucet, and I'd feel bad for getting that. But these people didn't need anything. The people around the compound, they knew Jesus, and they were happy with what they had. They had faith, and they had a roof over their head, and they were set. I mean, they could live a lifetime with that. That when we went to the church, they were singing, and they were giving it all they had. Because some of them had one pair of nice clothes, and they wore that to the church. You could tell they had nothing left to give. And it was a great experience, and it was one I would definitely do again. If I had the chance, I would. But it was tough to see what they had, to see what they didn't, and to see how happy they were throughout it all. And the last thing I remember is when we were pulling out, and all the kids were just running along the fence. They were waving and screaming and yelling. And even though we were leaving, and even though they were living here, and they didn't have much, they were so overjoyed that we gave our time to go hang out with them for a week. So if you get the chance, I would do it. Definitely, no doubt in my mind. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Pat Reed. I want to talk to you as a parent of a missionary. Okay, first of all, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a born-again Christian. I believe in Jesus. I'm a widow. I'm a high school teacher, and I have 3 daughters. My youngest daughter, Cindy, lives in Tennessee in the mountains. Her husband is a pastor at a country church on the top of Spencer Mountain, about 12 hours away. My middle daughter, Jenny, lives in Michigan, where her husband pastors a large church. They're about 16 hours away. So when my oldest daughter, Andy, tells me, Mom, we're selling everything we own and we're moving to Haiti, I just had 2 thoughts. But I'm going to be left all alone. And the second thought, I knew in my heart this was coming. Brother Paul preached last week about courage. One of the questions he asked the congregation was, do you trust Jesus? This is where a parent stands when their children become missionaries. Hebrews 13:5 says, the latter part, being content with what you have, for he himself has said, I will never desert you, nor will I ever forsake you. If you truly trust Jesus and believe his word, you will find peace and even contentment. All my children serve the Lord and bless me with their love and devotion to serving God. So now, being the teacher, I made you an acrostic. This is Haiti. It's hot. That's the main thing. Okay, it's unbelievably hot. I didn't even know I was capable of that much sweat. I took a large floppy hat over there with me to protect me from the sun, which was a total embarrassment to my daughter, Andy. She was constantly trying to get me to leave that hat behind, but she didn't have to worry because Brother Paul had one that was also very interesting. The second thing is it is awesome. The people are loving and proud of their country. From the moment we stepped off the plane, I encountered a young man who had just gotten a job as an interpreter. He came up and asked me, have you ever been to our country before? When I said no, he replied, you will love my people, and they will love you. Of course, when we arrived, there's culture shock, poverty, and waste everywhere. But I wanted to experience the people, and of course, made sure my daughter and her family were safe. We met a lot of people and worked hard painting classrooms and helping wherever we were needed. But one afternoon we decided that we would go deliver food. So we walked through the undergrowth, and you don't see anybody out in the undergrowth. I just assumed there weren't that many people out there. So we started walking through the undergrowth. And I was amazed because all of a sudden we came upon a little community. People were everywhere, and they were hollering back and forth with each other, and they told us about their neighbors, and they thanked us, and they followed us. Even saw some church members out witnessing to people in the village. They were friendly, they were laughing, they were working, and they would take care of each other. And I almost envied them because sure, they were poor, hot, and hungry, but the fellowship of the people amongst each other was amazing. It's also intense. Intense is how I felt when we heard the voodoo drums night and day. When we even drove by a voodoo compound that's right outside Hope Rising, and I saw a self-assured young voodoo priest walk out. The Hope Rising compound is surrounded by a high concrete fence with a huge gate and an armed guard. Everyone who can afford it has fencing around their property. When I asked the young pastor at the Hope Rising Center if he feared them, he replied, no, because I told them my Holy Spirit was stronger than anything they had. The next one is tears. There will always be tears. Tears of sadness, leaving loved ones behind. Tears of joy, knowing that you have the courage to follow Jesus and he'll give you comfort. The last one is investment. When I came back home, someone confronted me with the question, why go all the way to Haiti? Why did you go all the way to Haiti? Does it really make a difference? Why not stay in America and take care of the people here? And here's my answer. We're all disciples. Matthew 28:19 says, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you, and lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. Some are called to give up everything and go, and this is called obedience. Luke 14:33 says, so then none of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his own possessions. Some of us are called to stay home and be disciples. If you have not been called by God to serve abroad, then you are called to serve your community and our country. 1 Corinthians 7:7 says, however, each man has his own gift from God. One in this manner and another in that. So, do they make a difference? Well, to the 40 children who were abandoned, they do. To the community, the church, and because of the education they offer the children in the community, they do. The question is, do you make a difference? I want to wrap this up by telling you about my experience at the Sunday service this which we attended on the compound. And I kind of titled this, "You Don't Mess Up in Church." I didn't have to know Creole to understand what was going on in the church. We walked in the church, and it was hot. My daughter had given me a little plastic fan, very hot. We had our water bottle. We're sitting on the back pew like good Baptists do. And we're sitting there, and they have the screen with the words to the songs on it, and they have the band, and it's packed, and we're sitting there, and I'm looking around, and noticed in the back there's 2 ladies back there. I thought, okay, well, they run the church. So they ushered people in. If you came in, well, the whole church was full except for a few rows on the back over here. And when you came in late, you got ushered to a seat, whether you liked it or not. And if you didn't like where you were sitting, tough. Because one lady tried to kind of move over to the middle so she could see better, and they quickly told her to move on back down to the end. So the service starts, and I quit paying attention for a while, and then I look up, and I notice they're walking down the aisle, checking out everybody. And if you put your arm around the pew and you're a teenager, you take it down. And if you don't do what's right, they tell you. So then I start paying attention to the sermon, and I don't notice them for a while. And then I see 2 men get up, and they're guarding the pews. And I turn around, and I'm thinking, where are these 2 women? And I turn around where they're guarding the bathroom door. This kid, you can't go. You've already been twice. Why are you here? Go sit back down. There's all these little kids coming up, and they're telling them whether they can go to the bathroom or not. Then the men start walking around. They tap you on the head if you fall asleep. If a child misbehaves, they pick that child up and they find the nearest mama, whether it's their kid's mama or not, and they plop that child down, and you are to take care of that kid. Because church is serious, guys. It's a place to learn. It's a place to worship God. And that's the way they take it. Okay, and the last thing, I also wanted to say this. Because I was asked questions, I'm going to ask you some questions. My questions to you are, how tight-knit is your community? How do you act in church? How many people do you share the gospel with? How do you support the mission field? How happy are you? And do you experience the peace of God in everything that you do? And I text Morgan this morning, who speaks fluent Creole, trust me. And I leave you with this, Des Jésus, say it to Jesus. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm Jim Monroe. I am the associate pastor here, and one of my many responsibilities is missions. And so it's always exciting when we have a missions day and kind of get to strut what we've been doing over the last few months. I'm going to talk specifically, briefly, about a couple of upcoming opportunities. One of them is our Haiti trip that we'll be taking in September. The other one is the Acts 1-8 mission trip that's here in the North Little Rock area. Let me talk first just briefly about upcoming Haiti. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here's our team here. Of that team of 8, only 2 of them have not been to Haiti before with our group. So we only have 2 newbies that will be initiating into the heat, as Miss Pat said. But anyway, if you'll be praying for these folks, we would certainly appreciate it. I don't really have much to say about what's going to happen, because we're just going to be doing what the last 2 teams have done, and that is basically work there on the compound, just helping out wherever we can. I was talking to Ben earlier in the last couple of weeks, and he said that really helps them a lot. You know, a lot of teams come in and they want to do vacation Bible schools, they want to do this and that, and medical clinics, which are great and they're needed, but they also need folks just to come in and help build bunk beds and to help around the compound. So that's basically what we're going to be doing when we're there in September. I think it's about 47 days from now, so that's an exciting time for us. All right, and then also I want to mention about the Acts 1-8 mission trip. Now that is, in fact, if you were in adult Sunday school, most of our adult classes we were looking at Moses and the excuses that he gave about not participating in God's call. Well, we're doing everything we can to eliminate those excuses from your life when it comes to when it comes to these mission trips, whether that's money or time or all that. We've been on 2 of these in the last several years. The last one was in Fort Smith. I want to show you this quick video about what happened in Fort Smith. We did not go on this trip, but just kind of gives you an overview of what happens on these one-day mission trips. As you can see, a lot of the things that they do on these one-day mission trips are the same things that our students do every Sunday night, as well as what they just did in Chicago, just basically meeting some needs and getting to know people. Back in 2011, we took 9 to Mena, and then in 2015, a couple of years ago, we took 16 to Arkadelphia. Sure would like to at least double that this year. And so I'm just going to answer some basic questions. Well, you think, well, am I too old? Am I too young? No. Okay, so there's one excuse there. There's some basic information there. 12 and under, you got to have your parent go with you. If you're a youth, you got to have 1 adult sponsor per 4 youth. And so everyone under 18, of course, has to have the minor permission form. You know how we are about forms and getting all those signed. So then what can we do? Well, lots of different options here. Block parties. There's children's sites, VBS Bible stories, kind of backyard Bible club kind of things. The kids fishing derby like you saw on the video. Evangelism teams, which some are door-to-door, some are more like car wash ministry, laundry ministry, which we've done in our church a few years ago. Food distribution, these kind of things, medical and dental clinics, home repairs. We had a couple in our group in Arkadelphia do that a few years ago, and painting. And then the prayer teams, prayer walking, senior adult ministry, going to some of the retirement homes and sharing and doing crafts and sharing Bible stories, those kind of things. Yard work teams. This is a team that Ruth and I served on over in Arkadelphia last time, just raking and mowing and just doing yard work. And so that's the what. What about the when? When is it? Well, a lot of us don't have a lot of time. We don't have a week. We don't have 2 weeks to donate. Well, this is one day. It's on Saturday, October 7th, leaving here about 7:30 in the morning and headed back home from North Little Rock about 4:30. So that's basically a Saturday. And so those registration forms for that will be on the back table there as you exit the foyer. There's the minor permission form as well as the registration form. So where is it? We've already said that. That's in North Little Rock. It's not in Haiti, okay? You don't have to fly. You don't have to go overseas. Some folks are a little skittish about flying and all that. That's fine. We just go to North Little Rock. We start there at the North Little Rock High School. So that answers the basic questions of where. And then why? Same thing with any mission trip. To show the people in the North Little Rock area the love of Christ and to bring them at least one step closer to Jesus. Hopefully several steps, but at least one. How much? There again, I don't have $1,600 to go to Haiti. Well, this is $10, okay? And not only that, our mission fund will pay for that if you want us to. So when it comes to cost, there's really no excuse there. They also would like us to bring a non-perishable item for their food pantry there in the North Little Rock area. Well, how do we do that? Well, I told you about the registration forms. They're back there on the back table. We need those back in the church office in another month, about September the 7th. The earlier you return the form, the better you get your choice of your ministry. So that's important to note. You can go out and register online, but I'd like to pay for that. So if you just fill out that form and give that back to me, I'll take care of all that. So that'd be great. So that's an upcoming opportunity that everybody can participate in. All right, Pastor, I think it's your turn.
Well, we have definitely had a great opportunity to listen to these different reports, things going on, a lot of wonderful opportunities. 2 things that I want to share with you as we close things. Are you obeying what God has called you to do, and whatever that might be? And I'll tell you another thing, too. Are we to, because I've heard this a couple of times, Wes mentioned the joy and the happiness on people's faces. And Luke, as they were talking about just spending time with people. In Haiti, Noah and Miss Pat talked about, even though things are tough over there, there is a joy and a contentment because they know that they have Jesus, and also they know that their needs are being taken care of. In dealing with people, the lostness over there. Here's my question. Are we too content in the comforts that we have that we forget about Jesus? Are you and I too content with the comforts that we have that we forget about Jesus? Because somebody that may even be sitting in this room needs to accept Jesus? How can you help them? Let's pray.